Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for our potential final game of the evening. We've got Evil Geniuses Academy up 1-0 in this best of 3 against Immortals Academy. I am Mazel, joined by Joshi, and we've had a ton of action today so far, but I gotta say, this last game was a little bit different from what we've seen.
It really was, and it also went against our expectations of what we expected this game to be. We were looking at Viper and Pretty to be really aggressive in the top lane, to try and manufacture these leads in order to try and, dive Tony top. But the Ornn pick came through, all the ultimates going brrr at the same time, trying to lock
It
down
actually
Keith.
worked out that way.
And it worked out. Yeah, they kept Tahm Kench away from the fight, away from the one person they needed to protect, and it just allowed them to run through these fights over and over. And I was really impressed, I gotta say.
Yeah, it's just insane to me that we got such little blood early on. It was all about objective controls, and then it starts to fire up, and EGA are just able to take it time and time again. Yes, there were some catch-outs, right? There were some moments of brightness for IMT, but it wasn't the style that we've seen from them. It wasn't this top lane focus. It was kind of buying into the skirmishes that Evil Geniuses were bringing to their doorstep.
I feel like a big part of this as well is going to be super dependent on what kind of character we're going to see Joey play next time. We saw 3 bans targeted at him with the Thresh, the Leona, and the Nautilus, so he's kind of pushed to something that we haven't seen him play nearly as much in the Tahm Kench. And I feel like it was a situation where in order to switch your brain, in order to play the Tahm Kench, you have to play this champion quite a bit because he just plays so differently from every other support.
It's really hard to get your grasp on unless you have all that practice with it. And like you said, the bans are crucial for EGA. But here, in the end, it's just a wombo combo that comes up. And it's so unfortunate because this is literally just EGA rolling over the competition at this point.
They did what they needed to. They got the Tahm Kench ult out, and again, props to them for being able to play the slower style. It's not something that we were typically attributing to this Evil Geniuses roster, because Tomio tends to be a bit more of a me fight player, but hey, if it works, it works. If it gets the dub, it works, right? And they were able to do exactly that. So props to them for coming up with this big plan, and I'm not sure if that's one of the players or if it's their coach, Peter Dunn, who had a big say in that, but no matter what, whoever came up with it, props to you, man. You did a good job.
Yeah, and see if they can take that into going for game number 2, right? I think that's the more important part here is like looking ahead and seeing what changes we could potentially see from Immortals, right? We talked a little bit about before we went to break where we'd like to see a little bit more aggression towards the top side of the map. You did have the Viego, Renekton, and as well as the LeBlanc in mid, but it just never felt unlocked to a point. And by the time it did, right, we were already so far into the game that it was team fights that was what mattered, and EGA had the better team fight.
Yeah, and Lennon, we also got to be very aware that if we don't mention Kelsey Moser at least 2 more times throughout this cast, she's going to come for us, right?
Okay, I got you. We got to keep on the right track here. Make sure get all of our mentions.
We remember you, Kelsey, we promise. But honestly, it was just a really cool performance overall. I feel like they had a strong plan coming in from draft, and so the question is going to be, what is Immortals going to do to try and adapt? I feel like they need to be even more aggressive in the top lane, because all we saw was admittedly like an 80 CS lead for Viper and CS at one point as they shifted towards the bottom side of the map, but Ornn versus Renekton, Ornn's not happy about it, but he's like, here's 1,000 gold, here's 1,000 gold, you're good, don't worry, I don't need that 1,000, you can have it instead.
And there was that one crucial moment, right? And it was just a few minutes before the end of the game after that big fight on the top side of the map. But it was when they were hovering around that 3,000 gold lead, but you could see 4 completed Ornn items across the board there and working into the final one. And that from that moment, right, it was so hard for IMT to really find any advantages, any fights. Like they were able to find a couple picks, some low health bars, right? But that gold advantage was so heavily in favor of EGA that it's just so hard to dig yourself out of. So in this second game, that's where I want to see that proactivity come out, force EGA's hand to some extent.
I feel like something that we haven't touched on is actually the fact that the very first Rift Herald went over Evil Geniuses. And typically we said you can trade 2 dragons if you can get about a 2,000-3,000 gold lead for them, because it means that you'll be able to go for these fights a little bit later on. And we did see that. Evil Geniuses picked up the first Rift Herald, and there wasn't a fight, despite all 10 members being in that top lane river.
That's just so nuts. The fact
Right?
we got to see all the bodies up there that just walk away. No, but honestly, that's also part of them like being strong. Because in my brain, I want to fight. I'm going in. I don't care. You set me up for something like that. I'm just gonna run my face into it. But luckily, these
You'll-
teams are a little bit better than I would be, I'd say.
Yeah. Normally, I swear to God, when you start playing in like solo queue, it's like, oh, it is Pokemon. You lock eyes and you battle. And so what if you just
No matter
walks
what.
away with 300 gold?
But that's also something I want to see if that entails any more into the second game, right? That objective control early on, where there wasn't really any fighting, was still in favor of Immortals Academy, right? They had 3 back-to-back dragons and were able to contest over the Rift Heralds and occasionally the Rift Heralds and the Barons as well if they needed to. And I think that in game number 2, yes, I want to see that early aggression. That objective stacking is still pretty important if you want to take it to a later part of the game where EGA are seemingly thriving.
And I'm curious how much more of Jensen's love for Asterix Gauge on every champion, and also just the notes that he sent us are actually going to play out. He's got a couple more champions that he's looking at that Evil Geniuses might be picking up, and has more specific ideas on how to play around them. They haven't come to fruition just quite yet, but I also think, Jensen is a very smart guy. We know Immortals have a lot of strong members that they can play around, and we also saw, they made it to playoffs last time. They are not currently satisfied with how well that they have been doing thus far in Proving Grounds, and they think they should go farther.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Everybody thinks they should go far. Everybody thinks
They're
they're
the best
good.
team.
But we've seen, but we've seen the track record from Immortals. We've seen that growth and development from these players, even if they weren't on Immortals Academy, right? Over the last year and a half or so, like the Anda, we've had so much growth from this guy. We've seen Viper really succeeding, coming down into the lower ranks, into Academy, into Amateur, things like that. And maybe they're not at that LCS level. They're not up there, but they are fighting for it. And they're showing why they are to be in that conversation, right? And that's what I want to see in game number 2. I think that's the most crucial thing, because you can't just go quietly into the night for Immortals Academy, especially with the talent they have on this.
My big question then is, are we going to get a repeat of our first series where it was kind of a banger, game 1, and then the game 2 was like, oh, well, you got aced at 4 minutes.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit more action than game number 1. I mean, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. We could set up. We could talk about these players all day long. I love casting with you, Joshi. But I'm definitely down for the action. And especially because that's what I've loved to see from a lot of these players. And I think I want to talk a little bit more about Evil Geniuses Academy in that respect. Because, like I said earlier, like they were able to take the brunt of what Immortals Academy was trying to do as a whole and able to throw it right back at them. And that's a key piece going forward for them here into the rest of the series if they just want to close it out here. But Joshi, we do got to send it away for a little break while we get ready for the picks and bans of game number 2. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everyone. The moment we've all been waiting for. We're in the Champ Select for game number 2 between Evil Geniuses Academy and Immortals Academy. We do have a switch up of sides this time around. EG on the blue, IMT on the red. The Thresh banned away immediately from EG. They do not want to give that one over, as well as the Rakan joining that ban table.
Unsurprised about the Rakan. We saw how well Mystiques was able to play during that last one, and even though he wasn't one of the ultimates that were consistently just blowing up Keith, he was very instrumental in making sure that nobody could come in and help him. So, as we start moving to the second half of the ban phase, I'm expecting LeBlanc to probably take a seat on the bench once again, but the Rise is continuing to get banned away by Evil Geniuses, which is a bit surprising because it is one of Jojo Pyun's best champions.
I would wonder if we get to see any shade of the Ziggs this time around, at least for Team Luke, if they want to be able to pick that one up. Was banned away by IMT last time, I believe. Xin Zhao also banned away by IMT. Same ban they took last time around, so definitely don't want to give that one over to Tomio. And the Lee Sin is going to be taken off the board for EG Academy.
We know Anda is very proficient on a lot of these bruiser
Yes,
junglers. He likes to set up Viper, and just doing both damage and having crowd control is a great way to do that. The Ziggs is taken off the board. This is something that we have been seeing allow Team Luke to be a little bit safer as Mystiques roams around, and don't want to be giving that over at this point. So what does Evil Geniuses want to actually go for? Last series, it was Varus was the first pick for both teams.
And I wonder if hey, we might just see it again. I do find this interesting. Like, I always love the pickups of the junglers early on because it kind of leads to the mystiques of the of the drafts and things along those lines. But you can't go away from something that works, right? And Varus has been so strong recently in the meta and has so much utility on top of the damage that he deals.
That's one of the big things that you always got to look at is what AD carry, what champion brings the most and also shows the least that you can, right?
Yeah,
Varus
exactly.
does that. You have some poke, you have some DPS if you want it. Like, you're not committed to a style of marksman, kind of like Aphelios, right? Aphelios is a little bit more committed to the style of marksman that you're going to be playing, but it's still so strong, and typically it's paired with the Thresh, but that already banned away. I wonder what Jensen has in store for Immortals. Like, typically, Joey wants to be playing these engages.
Yeah, he does. And on the roams, right? And that's something that Jensen specifically highlighted about this series that was going to be super important to watch is Mystiques versus Joey. The Aphelios, a little bit of comfort there for Team Luke, or at least for Keith, sorry, not Team Luke. And a lot of AoE damage. We've seen team fights just get picked apart by a good Aphelios. They also are going to take their hand at the J4. We saw it earlier today by RBM. Did not take the win.
It was unfortunately not the most impressive performance RBM has had, but Anda trying to turn that around, and this is a champion that has crowd control, it has damage, it has a lot of everything, but it only really goes one direction. It goes forward, and hopefully that's enough. This is a situation where if you lock people down, Aphelios is going to do quite a bit of damage, but we're also seeing LeBlanc come out on the blue side, this time getting picked up for Jojo Pyun.
Yeah, the fact that they're willing to trade that over and just like kind of take that away and take it for the first time in the series, I think that's really interesting. And the mindset that EGA are approaching this game too with is like a little bit of confidence in that fact. They also get the confidence booster in having the set instant lock-in as a Lissandra on the other side.
Okay, I have to say, again, I'm not super thrilled by the Lissandra, but it is something that has shown success into the LeBlanc, and we see that Immortals very aggressively picking it up for themselves. They see the LeBlanc locked in, they know that they want it, whereas we know that Evil Geniuses were a little bit more hesitant as to whether or not it's something that they want to do. But I also want to look at the set. It's something we know Tony has played quite a bit throughout his career, but it can also be something that's played by Mystiques.
Yeah, and I think that's where my head is leaning towards on what we'll finally see for both these supports, because it was pretty integral last game, even though there wasn't all the crazy blood. It's still, those movements were very important for both the teams. And now that we're getting into the second phase of bans, Immortals Academy is actually going to take away the Renekton as their first ban.
Interesting. That means that they either want to force Tony Top to actually play this set, or that they don't believe that it's Tony Top's, right? Both of them work out, right? I've seen teams banned in this way both times. Renekton, unfortunately, in professional play, oftentimes isn't quite as strong of a set counter pick, even though your W does crush shields and just eliminate them. It is a situation where set doesn't necessarily have to pop it a lot of the times. He can just out damage you without that ability.
And we see the final bans coming through. Trundle is actually the ban away by Immortals Academy, so taking that one off the board. Again, focusing towards that jungle pool, the individual play as well. And we'll see on the other side, the Trundle's still available at the support role. The Braum is actually the final ban by EGA, so getting away a little bit of that synergy with the Aphelios as well. Camille is locked in for IMT. They are throwing the gauntlet down.
Oh, okay. Viper's Camille is very scary, but this is also a semi-blind, right? We said that this set could be played by either
Yeah.
Mystiques or Tony Top, and we will see where it is going to be going. We've been seeing a lot of these brand hovers.
We
I feel
really
like there's a
have.
joke, but there has to be a joke here that I'm missing, right? Because I don't understand why so many people have been hovering this champion specifically.
It's really interesting. Oh!
Ooh!
Woo! I said the gauntlet was dropped on the other side, but my God, Tony Top is gonna get his champion. Honestly, they should just make a skin for him at this point. He gets the Jax locked in for him for EGA. And then on the other side, they're also hovering a lot of engage, a lot of threatening stances here with this paranoia bot in the Nocturne.
I really like this Jax coming through. It is going to be a very big opportunity for them to play up against Viper's Camille, and the Zac also gives them enough engage that they can play with it. The Janna would surprise me, but it is something that Joey used to play a long time ago, right? It is very good against these heavy engagers, and with so many of these kind of meatball-y bruisers that are going to be jumping into you, just pushing them away, denying them opportunities to come in, works very well. Alistar can do similar things if he just says, nope, Jax, sorry, your counter strike. Do it over there. Don't hit anything. So it could be a very big opportunity.
I feel like that's a really
scary.
Interesting match. That's scary, man. Like that's not necessarily the setup you'd want against this kind of duo down in bot lane, but you still get a lot of that engagement. You get a lot of the lockdown and some tankability for a frontliner, at least for Immortals Academy.
The biggest thing that I'm going to have to be paying attention to in this game is what's going to be happening with Keith. Are they going to be diving onto him, or is there going to be a brawl that Immortals are going to be starting? Because if Immortals start the fight, it's a lot harder for Evil Geniuses to use their tools to jump onto Keith. Whereas if Evil Geniuses are the one who starts the fight, it's also very difficult for Immortals to peel for Keith. They don't have the Tahm Kench, they don't necessarily have great peeling tools. They just need to lock down individual members, kill them very quickly, and hope that Keith has enough damage to keep himself alive.
And can I just go give a little shout out to Tomio on the Zac here as well? Like something that I feel like is a little bit different for his champion pool. I typically like Tomio on things that we used to say the Tomio Death Squad, right? Something that can give him proactivity, something that gives him that individual play. Zac does have that, but in a different fashion. It's to support the rest of the team and get that momentum going. So I'm very excited. I definitely feel like there's gonna be a little bit more blood this time around than we got in game number 1. But we're gonna have to find out as we send it to a little break and load up onto Summoner's Rift. This is a make or break moment for IMT Academy. You don't want to miss it. Here we are yet again. We find ourselves on the precipice of battle. Evil Geniuses Academy taking on Immortals Academy. 1-0 in favor of EGA. One step away from knocking out the Immortals.
See how they're going to be able to do it. It is going to be very, very important that this Tomio Zac doesn't get invaded super aggressively early on in the game. And we'll see how effectively he's able to keep himself alive. He needs to use that E very defensively. He needs to be able to get over walls. And now that he's spotting out the fact that this is going to definitely be a warded blue start if he goes for it, well, he will have to make a decision. Does he start in the blue side anyway in vision of the opponents, or does he start on the other side to keep him guessing?
Gotta be playing some mind games from minute 1 here, but so far so good on both fronts. It will just be spotted out. It looks like Tomio is just going to go for that blue side of the jungle and can be set up nice. Okay, never mind. I'm going to stop talking because maybe he's going to go for the other side. Decides at the last moment there. But I can appreciate that, right? Because I think that if you do have that vision game early, that enables Anda to really have that influence in the mid and top. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the proactivity from Anda to get Viper and Pretty ahead and snowball that, or at least set themselves up for a late game carry of Keith. We haven't seen that so far because EGA just took hold of that early game and never let it go. But this is a fresh map. This is a fresh set. And this is where IMT can really make bounds.
We're also seeing Tomio start with an interesting position. He's starting on the Wolves, and that does mean that he's not immediately seen, but he's showing shortly after. So Anda had a very small window to try and figure out what was going on, and now he's actually going for an invade. We're going to see a level 2 fight.
That's what I was saying. That vision is key to getting that early advantage for IMT, what they love to find. And Anda has found Tomio. He gets the smite away. Tomio's still going over here. Doesn't have anybody heading his way, but still does have the Bloblets, the passive available. Does get out with his life, but early aggression by Anda.
Okay, Anda had an opportunity there if you wanted to cross over the mid lane and just go towards the bottom half of Tomio's jungle. It would be a little bit risky, but Tomio has basically no HP. He's going to try and clear this out, but I don't even know if he has the health for this. He doesn't have a smite just quite yet. Oh, he's Zac. He's
Zac.
Zac.
He's Zac. You forgot about Zac.
Most other junglers could not do this, but he's got so much to stay, and he just like holds steady at about like 30% of his HP just because of how much sustain he gets every time he picks up a blob.
That is something to think about, though, because that reset is going to have to pretty much come out for Tomio as he's clearing these, right? And Anda is going to have a little bit of priority in that fashion of it, because Tomio can't really, if something happens, if Anda decides to aggress somewhere, he really has no response, right? You don't have a lot of health in that fashion. So I want to see this move by Anda if he's going to keep on the aggression. That's the name of the game, I feel like, right now for IMT.
Tomio is so low, but he is able to pick it up. He's only level 2.
Oh,
he's gonna have to flash.
Oh no! The Bloblets are coming out. That was a nice stun up from Joey, and they're going to slowly but surely take first blood. Pretty is on the board.
This is a bit brutal for Tomio. He's not able to farm. He's not able to pick up the crab, and Anda is going to be a huge recipient of this, as is Pretty. I wasn't a big fan of this Lysandre into LeBlanc, but now it's so much better.
His little headbutt goes out on the team. Luke gets him away from Keith, who was getting worked on a little bit there. Doesn't have a lot of mana either, so very nicely done by Joey, but just some skirmishing at least happening in the 2v2 of the bot lane.
But as we also take note, the top lane is going much better for Tony Top this time around. He got a recall in, has the boots, going to be walking towards the top lane. Both of them will be able to grab some itemization as they just continue to brawl it out, but a small advantage going over to Tony Top is much different compared to what we saw earlier.
Joey, he's got the play. Mystique's is right there, though. I like where the heads are at for IMT.
I do too. Joey's got the killer instinct. He's not on the Tom Kench. He's not playing defensive duty. He is about engages. This is what we know Joey to do. This is how we know he likes to find his success, but the big thing that we got to pay attention to, we also know both these supports like playing towards the rest of the map. They aren't necessarily going to be playing towards their AD carries for much longer, so Keith and Team Luke might be isolated as we get to see the cake on Jarvan.
Yeah, you do, and you get to see the first blood going over as well. Poor Tomio just gets caught out and left out there. The Bloblets aren't going to save you today.
Not a lot he can do at this point. Would have had to flash much
such a cool
earlier.
Angle.
Yeah. I'm really impressed that Joey was just so committed to that. I was just like, hey, we're going to get this. We're going to take him down. And you're seeing that like a 4-camp lead already coming out for Tomio, 16 CS ahead. That is basically an entire jungle, right? That is all 4 of your minor camps already cleared out, and it is super accelerating in this game, kind of like what we were seeing in our first series where Fnatic started with 3 kills, though not quite as extreme.
Yeah, not quite as extreme. Still a little slow and steady wins the race here, but talking about slow and steady, it ain't no longer. As Tomio getting aggressed in the same position he was just a little bit ago. Jojopyun might find Pretty. He might get him. 1 kill goes over. EGA are on the board with an individual outplay.
Nice. This is part of why I like the LeBlanc into Lysandre anyway. It's just, it's harder to play as the LeBlanc, but you are still able to find these solo kills. They recognize they had the level disadvantage. They had the push earlier, and it just means that Jojopyun able to find the level 6 faster, get access to the ultimate, and Pretty has to blow his flash, so it's possible this is something that can happen again pretty soon.
Get it, Pretty.
We've
just been on it all day long. Viper is getting 1v1 by Tony Top on the top side. Never give this man the jacks, because this is what you reap. And Tony Top has asserted dominance over Viper.
Solo kill for Tony Top at this point.
Two!
Two solo kills! Okay,
what is going on? Team Luke is going to get caught out. It's almost a solo kill, but it's because he's the only one there. And Team Luke goes down to Joey, of all people.
Okay, this is such a different game from what we just saw in Game 1 of this series, Lennon. We're seeing so much fighting across the board, and it really comes down to the Zac pick. I was very surprised that Tommy went for it, because this is not something that is typically in his wheelhouse, and he's getting aggressed upon. Anda's really preying on him, but we're also not seeing Immortals play towards the top side. They're not getting Viper a big lead. Instead, Anda's looking for his own lead, and it does lead to Viper finding a situation where he is behind in one of very few games.
He's getting worked on by Tony Top and Topside, and there's just no help coming. Now you got Joey on the roam to potentially get up there and stop some bleeding, but mid lane, Pretty is getting aggressed on by Jojo Pyun, and this is such a different take from Immortals Academy.
Evil Geniuses gotta be a little bit careful though, because there is level 6 on Pretty. Jojo does have his flash available, so he can leave, but every time he goes in, Jojo...
Oh, he flashes, still gets tombed up. And he still gets taken down. He's going to buy a little time with some nice mimicry, but it's going to be too much. Oh my god, don't tell me he gets away. He actually survives here. What a dupe. Oh, no, you don't live today, buddy. It's a flash cataclysm. Bot lane, you got Keith taking a 2v1, and he survives. No, yes, he does. Here comes Joey. This is a huge turnaround. Keith has red and white, and you know he wants to fight. And Mystiques is left out. He's going to try to go in, but it's not enough for the Brawl Star as Mystiques. Oh my god! What? What? Team Luke gets the kill on Keith,
Jojo.
And Joey gets the kill right back on the Mystiques. Jojo Pyun is here, but it's not enough, or is it? Team Luke survives by the skin of his teeth, and it's tied up 4-4.
Oh boy, tied up in gold as well. Is Tony going to have to back away? No, Anda's not going to be going for the play, but Jojo going to be able to push us in another kill. Super, super narrow margins all over the board. Viper going to dodge out.
Another 1v1, another Tony Top domination. No, it's not going to be so as Viper gets out and Anda is right there just in case. But this is not the story that you want to be telling for Immortals Academy. We put so much emphasis on Viper, on Anda, on Pretty, and EGA has taken that and just ripped it away from Immortals.
It looks so good from Evil Geniuses. We said that this was a team that they ripped out contracts, they put him in the top slot for LCS, and they're still finding success anyway. It's not all contracts. Who's been one of the best performers in Academy Amateur. It's Tony Top, Jojo Pyun, Team Luke, Mystiques, and Homeo coming in. He's got big shoes to fill, and while this game he's kind of struggling, that doesn't change the fact that he had such a big impact in their previous game.
We'll see that 2v1 for Keith. He outplays this, at least surviving for a long time, finally getting taken down by the piercing arrow. But the first one, he dodges out nicely, just barely sidestepping it there. Joey finally comes in, but it is a full commit from EGA here. They do also get the TP in from the mid lane, and Keith able to survive for so long, but that arrow was on point for Team Luke.
They really needed to lend it, but I also feel like we saw these small things where, you know, it's kind of like if you've ever played tennis or like volleyball and you're going for a ball and nobody says anything, just like lands between you and you both look at each other. It feels like that, where it's like, oh, my bad, I should have called that I was going to finish the kill, because neither of them end up finishing it. And now, not going to get caught out. Good job from Jojo Pyun just to keep track of where Joey is.
Oh, but nope, you spoke too soon. You also have Tomio there, nicely headbutted away. The Let's Bounce comes out, but it's a little bit too much. Mystiques is here, Showstopper in, but he gets stopped in the middle of it. Now Team Luke is here, Chains of Corruption in, and that's huge! Team Luke picks up his second kill of the game.
Okay, well, there's a dragon that was picked up 3.5 minutes ago that we kind of forgot about, Len, and it's already gone over to Immortals, but more and more fighting. There's nothing left to fight for here, but this is a situation where everybody backs away. You're looking for another fight in about a minute when a lot of people aren't going to have their ultimates available. And crucially, Anda will, so it should be in favor of the red side of the map if they actually do go for this.
We've had like a 900% increase in kills over the early game here. It's night and day comparatively to game number 1. It is insane. We get a replay of what shenanigans happened, what unfolded here between EGA and Immortals Academy, but EG able to take what was given to them, right, and kind of be able to throw it back.
really impressive, honestly, just how they're able to play around Jojo Pyun on this LeBlanc. Because it is, it is a more difficult matchup, but as we've already seen, it's not a bad matchup necessarily. Jojo,
no.
does he get it?
Oh, he got the tomb. Oh, that was really nicely timed by Pretty. He was so close to going down there.
The difference in the cooldowns on their ultimates is going to be really big. We just said Anda will have his ultimate, but now Pretty does not. Jojo might, by the time this dragon really gets fought over. A couple of plates going over to Immortals as the gold remains dead even as we crest the 12-minute mark, as we are potentially looking at another dragon fight if either team wants to pick it up.
And Keith just granted a little bit of that plate gold from the Rift Herald take as well from Anda. We'll see what's happening top lane, though. Looks like there's a dive. Jojo Pyun is there. Anda is barreling down the wave, but can he get there fast enough? They're committing a TP to this. Now Jojo Pyun and Tony Top have to get out, have to turn tails. They almost turned it onto Viper yet again. He had to burn his flash.
Tony going to have to trade flashes there with Viper, but he's going to be happy with that, right? He's going to be very aggressive at this point. He's got most of the Blade of the Ruined King completed. He can stay sustained, and that just means that every time they go for a fight, it is going to be back and forth. Even fights should be winning for Tony Top in the long run.
Look at
Top
the
or bottom
TP.
lane's Viper.
Yeah, they got Viper finally getting active in the game. The chance of corruption, or the root, sorry, from the Graviton lands. Mystiques goes in with the Facebreaker team. Luke, he can't get out this time. Shut down over to Viper.
But what are they giving in return? Are they going to be giving the top lane? Yeah, Tony Top, uncontested, going to be picking up a couple of plates here. And with it falling, the plates falling in 45 seconds, might be able to get the entire turret, depending on how long it is that Immortals takes on the bottom side of the map. They're only now starting to hit the dragon.
They are taking the bottom tower, though. Viper and Keith able to do a decent amount of damage to that. Looks like first tower will just go over to Immortals. That's all 5 plates as well. And the dragon picked up. But Tony Top will find himself that advantage continuously in top lane.
Gold is going to remain super, super even. Tony Top is here. He might fancy this fight. No, Pretty is going to force him away. Okay, well,
he almost went for it. He almost went for the tower.
He thought about it.
Decided not to.
He's got to be sitting on a lot of money at this point. He wants to get that Blade of the Ruined King, and Pretty doesn't want to let him back away.
He doesn't. I was wondering if Tony Top just decides to go in for that fight there, but it's still a pretty scary Pretty. But we'll see how that back finally goes out. We do have the lane swaps kind of changing here just a little bit in the priority around lanes. We have Keith and Joey heading down to that mid lane now with a little bit of more priority around that. They can set up for these objectives because Immortals Academy, again, find themselves on Soul Point early on in the game. Just about, right?
Yeah. Halfway, right? It's very helpful for Immortals to try and threaten this, but it's also a situation where their lead isn't secure enough that they're necessarily going to get it every time. Pretty dodges out in the last bit of damage. Joey is here. But I also feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of fighting for basically the rest of this game. Tony Top has completed the Blade of the Ruined King, which will give him a lot of split push pressure. But this Rift Herald is going to be going over to Immortals. It is not contested whatsoever from Evil Geniuses, so Immortals are not only picking up the dragons, but also the gold lead.
And I was wondering if maybe they go for a play over the Rift Herald. Tony Top does have TP advantage over Viper right now in the side lane, but he's just going for side lane dominance right now. He's going for the 1v1 yet again. How many times can he take out Viper in a solo kill? Not going to happen this time, but he's getting awfully close every single time they tussle.
And note, how much he's sustained off of that. Okay, he takes a couple of turret shots, which undoes all that sustain, right? But he's still going to be strong enough to pick up this bottom lane turret. And this doesn't necessarily get a whole lot easier for Camille as the game continues to go on. Because even though Camille's true damage ramps up, and if you can get it through onto Jax, it's very nice. But Jax also just is this ball of stats that's going to be attacking faster and faster and faster. And Viper, his damage ramps up, but it becomes harder and harder to apply because he can't get stuck in.
And just the fact that we get Tony Top's Jax in this second game, in this elimination match for Immortals, who led it through, and he has found the solo kill onto the star of Immortals, Viper, who has been so solid in the top lane. It's just like things are upside down right now. What's up, what's down, Joshi? But Immortals have to figure that out very quickly.
Evil Geniuses also need to start putting a stop to the dragon stacking. In 2.5 minutes, we're going to be paying a lot more attention towards this bottom half of the map once again, as people start coming down to look at the Infernal Dragon. Infernal Soul is not something you can afford to give over to Immortals. It amps up Pretty's damage quite a bit, but it also just means that Jojo Pion won't necessarily be as safe in these side lanes, because Viper can blow him up, Pretty can blow him up with the aid of one friend, and kind of the low damage that you have being brought out by Jarvan and Lysandra gets undone by the fact that they just have a bunch of extra damage in the Infernal Soul.
Yeah, they do. And I believe this is our first Infernal Soul as well of the day, so I'm very excited to see how this kind of comes down and if EGA are able to put a stop to that stacking here. But Anda is in mid now, does have the second Rift Herald of the game ready to go in his tool belt, and has a lot of bodies in mid lane, but really mid lane or top lane are the focuses for that Rift Herald. It's going to be a little bit harder to play now that we're this far into the game.
It's not going to be getting any plates, but it will still take turrets pretty effectively. So I expect to see it probably coming towards the mid lane at some point relatively soon. You do want to take that, open up the map, so Team Luke isn't quite as safe just pushing this far into mid lane, and also so that you can start getting some vision down in all of these sides of the jungle. You want to be able to pick that up, allow Lysandra to just hit people from Fog of War. It becomes very difficult for them to even walk into their own jungle, but they do need to take this turret in order to make that easy.
They do. It's a little bit harder to do so, but they are getting set up around this dragon, right? That's the big objective here for Immortals. They want to make sure that they are in front of the pit, ensure that they are in front of the fight, and taking the fight in the way that they want to, right? They've got Viper in the side lane right now, who is pretty strong in his own right, having a little bit of strength gained along these last couple minutes, and it means that the Camille can find a little something on the side lane, just pushing that one up. It looks like actually they're going to try to go for the bush play here, but they're just losing their map right now as EGA is just pushing into the waves, and they've got Jojo Pion in top with a TP available, taking a tier 2.
This is very surprising to me by Evil Geniuses. Now they're looking for Pretty.
They are. They found Tomio, though. Tomio gets locked up, dragged down. Is he going to get his bloblets popped? There they go. And they also found the engage on Team Luke. Luke gets out, and the Chains of Corruption is used. They're just going to leave Tomio out to die, and Immortals Academy will strike yet again.
It doesn't look like Evil Geniuses can really afford to contest this. Yes, they would like to prevent the dragon from going over, but they don't have their jungler, they don't have a smite, and it is going to be a difficult situation. Mystiques has to flash away because Viper still has the ultimate. Tony Top is splitting. Jojo Pion stops splitting though, and it feels like Evil Geniuses, their side wave management has not been as good this game as we've typically seen it be.
It's an interesting series of decisions there from EGA. It felt like they were about to get everything. They were pushing up mid. They had priority over mid and top. They were pushing a tier 2 in top with Jojo Pion, having the TP available just in case they wanted to call the fight. But it's actually Immortals who just kind of swoop in, take the EG resting on their laurels, and come out on top with it with Soul Point now of an Infernal Soul.
The biggest thing that feels almost criminal to me, right? You know, we use the word illegal a lot. It feels like you have to respond to the Rift Herald bottom lane. Because Camille is also going to be strong, is going to be an important diver as you look towards Team Luke later in the game, and he's uncontested, right? Like, Tony Top isn't there. We've already seen that he's able to go for a lot of these fights, and if you support that, you know you're playing around the dragon here pretty soon. They just kind of gave up an entire, main way to get to the dragon. So it feels surprising to me that Evil Geniuses were willing to do that, but at least they are rewarded with a top lane turret getting picked up by Jojo.
Yeah, they are. They will give up the outer tower to Pretty, though, on the top side. No real response to come out. They're putting more focus towards the bot side of the map, where Tony Top has taken up residence without any big objectives on the field right now, at least besides the Baron, which I don't think any team's going to go for the Baron right now with how contested things are. You're looking for picks. You're looking for a little bit of an aggression into the enemy jungle as Tomio and company.
Well, we are seeing a kind of switch on the map. Here we go.
Oh, I don't know if they've got enough damage to take down Anda. Flag and drag goes out. Team Luke and Jojo Pion right there. Chains of Corruption is going to go wide. They're looking for mid lane, but Viper's here now. Viper goes for the engage. Not going to use the Hextech Ultimatum on Tomio. Got a TP's coming in. He's way far behind. Pretty trying to find the engage. Does find Team Luke, and Team Luke is obliterated by Joey and everyone else that follows up. Hextech Ultimatum on Tony Top does keep him out into the fight, but he gets away with a flash. Is he going to survive? That's enough. The chakrams, they can't get him. Keith is firing away, but it's only Tomio that he finds. Flash forward, he gets the kill.
Couple of kills coming through once again. It feels like Immortals are just playing these fights better at this point, and it should reward them with tempo onto the Baron buff. Tony Top can try and teleport out. We can start seeing a lot of members start to come through. Both Jojo and Tony can come, but it's such a difficult engage right now. They have to find Pretty first.
They do. If they can find it, is a big question. Pretty is going to be taken out here potentially. Showstopper brings him towards his team, and Mystiques goes down on well, trading 1-for-1 so far. Baron was stopped, but EGA are looking a little worse for wear because of it.
Okay, well, that's definitely worth it, right? You pick up the kill, you trade 1-for-1, Mystiques isn't worth anything, and you stop the Baron, and now because you bought enough time, all of your members are respawning, so you also pick up the mid lane turret. It was a good play coming in from Evil Genius's Academy, and now they can retake control of all of the vision around the Baron if they want to, but we are also seeing the weaknesses. Team Luke, very vulnerable to the fact that Pretty just presses R, and then it allows people like Joey to come in right on top and continue the crowd control.
It's really, it feels bad, man, as an ADC in moments like this where you just get one ability used on you and then everything's said and done there. I want to see if maybe we get the QSS coming out sooner rather than later for Team Luke, but does that really matter in the grand scheme of things? That burst is still going to follow down afterwards. So got to keep an eye on that, and also on the Tony Top's Jax, who is now on 2 items with that Divine Sunderer. They're looking aggressive right now on the side of EGA.
Are they just going to hit? This is a little bit bold. The pink is down. They are going to start hitting. Camille's a little bit far away, and I don't think they know just quite yet that this is happening. They have strong suspicions, but now they know. How's the fight
About to be a barrel of fun if they do gate that fight in there. You've got everything available. So much AoE potential for Immortals Academy. It's like they'll pull off of that Baron, and Immortals Academy will go towards the mid lane and towards Dragon.
But this is also very dangerous. There's less than a minute left on the Infernal Soul coming up from Immortals. If they are able to pick that up, it becomes very easy for them to win a lot of the ensuing fights. So Evil Geniuses need to contest this. They need to spend what money they have. They need to get back onto the map and build priority. So Immortals, it looks like they're going to be using this time to actually threaten the Baron vision and make sure that Evil Geniuses don't know what's going on the map.
There's a lot of focus down towards this Dragon pit, though. Dragon spawning in 30 seconds. This is Soul for Immortals. Pretty gets engaged on early.
Oh, no.
Use the tomb. He's going to go. He's actually not going to die. Jojo Pyun finds him on the side, but now Chains of Corruption goes wide yet again, and Team Luke just can't hit the ultimate. Now EGA are split from the fight. Big face breaker, though, from Mystiques. But does it matter? Cataclysm plus Viper is all you need. But it's EGA who are getting dragged down now. Can Viper make the ultimate play? EGA still 3-1 in team fight potential. And Viper, the only one that survives from Immortals, they lose the Dragon.
Mystique coming up huge in that fight. It was so chaotic once again, and it feels like Immortals probably should have won it, but they were so disorganized at the end. Evil Geniuses are able to put a stop for now to the Dragon stacking, but hey, they're going to have to come back over and over. They're going to have to repeat this play in about 5 minutes, but we'll watch how this actually goes down. Notice the fact that Joey doesn't actually lock down Team Luke. He just pushes him further to safety, and this allows Tony Top to just walk up. It's a situation where everybody is under threat. All of the carries are getting hit, and Mystiques, again, 3-man stun, locking down everybody, buying time for both Tony Top and Team Luke to get some space, regen a little bit, and then eventually, when all ultimates are down and only front lines are left, Jax is going to win that fight every time.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. It's just really impressive from EGA to be able to pick apart that fight, right? They were completely split, with Immortals Academy just standing all in between them, pretty much all members. Very nicely done from EG. There's the Chains of Corruption. Luke is going to go through. Pretty is here. They're surrounded, though. I was talking about them splitting the fight. Now EG is in some trouble. Knocking back Tony Top. There's another big face breaker on the back. And has found Team Luke, though. Keith is down. Tony Top is on a killing spree now. But can Viper find it? He gets Team Luke. Look at the fight going in IMT's favor. EGA are routed, and that's Immortals Academy taking down the almost ace, leaving Tomio alive.
Oh gosh, once again, super chaotic fights between these two teams. We're not seeing the super cerebral, cognitive, like 300 IQ style team fights. This time, people are just here to fight, they're here to brawl, and Immortals are coming up ahead once again. Seeing how they're able to find all these targets, seeing that Team Luke is kind of being left out to dry during all these fights just means that Evil Geniuses don't have the consistent damage left in the tank to actually win a lot of these team fights.
They just don't, and now that the Baron is going down and give that much more onus to Immortals Academy, how can they utilize this is the question. We're going to get a replay of that chaotic fight.
Watch how Team Luke is just kind of left out at the beginning, right? You call that Anda found his way to this Varus, and there's not a lot that Team Luke can really do. But on the other hand, because Jojo Pyun goes so far back because he's out of the fight, he's not able to do any DPS, and even though Viper uses the ultimate on the wrong clone, by walking forward without the distortion, without any abilities, he ends up going down as well. There's no way for them to re-enter the fight, and Evil Geniuses are just routed after that.
It's just so funny and sad at the same time to see literally everybody just walk away from Team Luke as he's getting cataclysmed by Anda. There's so many things I'm sure that both teams want to take back from that fight, but EGA is definitely going to be hurting after that one. Almost 4,000 gold in the lead is Immortals Academy. They have Baron. They're on the precipice of a Dragon Soul and an Infernal Soul, but right now the objective is to push down these waves and get to these inhibs.
They have about 2 minutes. That's about 4 waves plus this one, whatever they currently have. So it should be about 5-6 waves at this point. They are trying to push in. There's not a lot of wave clear coming out from Evil Geniuses in terms of being able to close this out. So Jojo Pyun tries to push things up in the top lane, deny at least 1 wave for Immortals to play with, but now they just rotate over to the mid lane, and hey, 2 inhibitors is still pretty darn good. You're very happy with that if that's what you end up getting with your Baron.
It absolutely is a crucial moment for EGA to make a defense, but that's really difficult to do when you've got such a lead right now for IMT, but also this split push potential. You can't really deal with the separate pieces, as it looks like that Shades of Corruption is going to be there, but EGA go for the fight anyways. See if they can respond afterwards, though. That's a big cataclysm from Anda. Tomio and the rest of the company are running away here, but Anda and Immortals Academy are staying strong. They take a second inhib.
Cool idea. I like the flank coming in from Mystique, but it still results in the same outcome. The inhibitor goes down, and now Immortal's going to be backing away. Remember what we said, they have to go for the same play over and over on the side of Evil Geniuses. They have to prevent every Infernal Dragon from here on out. It's been 5 minutes. It's been 4 minutes, but now they have to play for the Infernal Dragon once again, but down to inhibitors. It's so hard for them to leave their base in order to try and challenge this.
It is. You already see Pretty moving towards the top side, pushing that one out, making sure that's rolling. Has TP available if they want to join the fight. You've got no time to join the fight because TP's already coming in, and Viper has decided to take EGA's life. This is unfortunate for EGA, but they're just getting picked apart piece by piece. Tony Tops Jax ain't saving you today, and Joshi, we're going the distance.
We've not done this hardly at all, and in almost every single Proving Ground series that we've seen recently has been a clean 2-0, but this time we are going to be going to Game 3. Immortals come back. They bounce back after a kind of dismal Game 1. They come into Game 2. They shut down Tomio. They don't give him any way into the game, and this Zac felt invisible.
My goodness. The fact that the whole game we were talking, all right, this isn't the Immortal style that we like to see. This isn't the Immortal style that we normally see. The top side of the map ended up with incredible KDAs anyway, so what really matter? And the fact that we actually get to see this go the distance is what both of these teams deserve. They have shown so much on the Rift, so much growth, so much development. It would be a shame to see it only go to 2 games, but now we get to go the distance. We get to go to all 3 games between this series, and it's going to be a tight one. Both EGA and Immortals Academy putting everything on the line to not get knocked out of Proving Grounds. We got to step away. We got to take a little break. We'll be right back with game number 3.